Hey folks, Mike Dawkins from Worldcast Anglers with your Jackson Hole weekend fly fishing forecast for the weekend of the 3rd and the 4th of June. The first official fly fishing forecast of the 2023 angling season. We've been hearing some things in the fly shop. When's the next fly fishing forecast? When's the next fly fishing forecast? We appreciate all the feedback, and we're here and we're back and we're better than ever ready for the 2023 season. So after our big winter of the 2022-23 winter season that we've had, we're starting to see all of that snowpack trickle out in the Henry's Fork Basin, the Snake River Basin, down there in the Salt and the Green. So we're sort of in that prime runoff period. So our fishing opportunities are going to be limited. That doesn't mean there's not some great opportunities out there that include salmon flies on the Henry's Fork and some other things, but you're going to see a lot of things start to drop back into shape in these next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you're not, get your yard work done, get your spring cleaning done, get your boat ready, your boat registrations, all of that. Take this next couple of weeks to get really ready, because our fishing is going to pop and it's going to kick into really high gear here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Our forecast coming into the weekend, we're in this 10-day afternoon precip, sort of cycle, pretty traditional spring, Rocky Mountain spring weather. You can probably see behind me, it's a little ominous. We're starting to have some thunder, a little raindrops, and this has sort of been the cycle the past 7 days, and it's supposed to extend on into the next 7 to 10 days. So, a little moisture here and there, it's going to aid in our snow melt. It's going to aid in our soil moisture component of our drought indicators, and it's going to help us overall instead of this big slug of snow coming down at once. Things are going to sort of, hopefully continue to trickle out. So our Saturday, it looks like it's 58 and 44 scattered thunderstorms. Sunday looks pretty similar, 63 and 46 with scattered thunderstorms. Obviously, that's for the greater Teton Valley, Jackson Hole area. Yellowstone, it's probably going to be a little bit cooler. Lower South Fork, it's probably going to be a little bit warmer. Henry's Fork, I would suggest and probably think it's going to be a little bit more milder. These afternoon thunderstorms and everything we've been receiving have been really location specific, but pack your rain gear, waders, warm layers, everything pretty traditional Rocky Mountain spring weather. Jackson Lake, 61% of capacity. Palisades Reservoir is 84% of capacity. Looking into the Henry's Fork, we've got 1,260 CFS being discharged from the Box Canyon, 2,750 CFS there in the lower river around Ashton. The Henry's Fork, there's salmon flies all over the Warm River to Ashton stretch. Ora, Vernon, crawling up through Lower Mesa, Cardiac Canyon, Riverside. Fishing's been pretty darn good with the salmon flies. We haven't really had, that really cold, chilling, crappy weather that sort of smushes them. But looking into this weekend, it's not supposed to be very warm and it's not supposed to be very bright and sunny. So you may see a little bit duller action on the dry fly bite. But the past couple of days, the dry fly bite's been pretty good with your salmon flies paired with rubber leg droppers or some of your tungsten, jig head droppers, things like that. Caddis in the afternoons and the evenings has still been pretty good. You may see a couple BWOs with this cooler, cloudier weather. But coming up next, we've got, the Golden Stones, the Drakes, the PMDs, and the Yellow Sallies, which is going to continue our dry fly fishing run on the Henry's Fork. Expect the Henry's Fork to be a busy place with the salmon flies and the limited fishing opportunities we have everywhere else. Go early, go late, go wade fish, then float, go float, then wade fish. Fly fishing is about having fun, right? So, give everybody their space, be extra patient at the boat ramps, be mindful of your neighbors and everybody else that's fishing out there in flow of the boat ramps and things like that, because everybody deserves to go out and have a good time. The South Fork of the Snake, 14,100 CFS being discharged from Palisades Dam, 17,000 CFS there on the lower river. We've actually seen clarity increase on the South Fork of the Snake the past week as we're starting to see a lot of that low-level snowmelt disappear, be gone, and some of the higher level snowmelt starting to sort of trickle out or taper off with this cooler overcast weather. So we've seen that clarity increase, especially down there, around Rainy Creek, Pine Creek, and some of those other things where they were spilling out of their banks and sort of brown. They're starting to turn a little bit green. That may be an indicator that we're pretty close on the South Fork. It may be an indicator of just we're not ripping through our snow melt cycle with the 70 and 80 degree sunny days that we were having at the beginning portion of the month. South Fork is still really cold. It's still mostly a nymphing game. Rubber legs, San Juan worms, pheasant tails, Duracells, Perdigons, flashier, brighter patterns have been doing really well. And the streamer bite has been pretty darn good on the South Fork of the Snake. Crelexes, Dungeons, Motor Oils, Peanut Envies, any of those larger profiled flies in darker shades, black, brown, purples, those are going to show up the best in your contrast with some of the off-water environments and conditions that you'll see. Like I said, the South Fork is cold, and it's a lot of water moving through it, so definitely be careful, but it's definitely offering some good fishing opportunities locally. The Snake in Jackson, 285 CFS being discharged from Jackson Lake Dam, 11,400 CFS going into Palisades Reservoir before the salt and the grays. Naturally, with 280 CFS, the Snake's not getting that big with that low amount being discharged from Jackson Lake Dam. That's a product of Bureau of Rec trying to store water higher into the system. Check out our fishing reports on the Snake River for more information on that and how you can get involved. Snake's pretty much limited from the dam to Pacific Creek. Streamer fishing with like an intermediate line or a light sink tip or poly leader with Clouser minnows, Crelexes, things like that in the discharge of Jackson Lake Dam can be pretty good. And then we're starting to see some okay dry fly fishing and some other fishing opportunities down there before the Oxbow. But that's sort of about what you're going to have there on the Snake. Similarly for the Teton, 1,280 CFS up here in the valley, 3,390 CFS on the lower river. Teton's pretty darn blown out from top to bottom. Yellowstone National Park, it opened on Saturday, and customary Madison and Firehole are fishing well. They're high, but they're not necessarily off color. The Firehole and the Gibbon that form the Madison are usually more of a tannic, like tea-stained color. So we're seeing some caddis and some BWOs and things like that on the Firehole. Swinging soft tackles, small streamers, leeches, and things like that on a light sink tip or poly leader can be very fun while you sort of poke around looking for some dry fly fishing opportunities. We haven't seen any big bug salmon flies or goldens down there on the Madison, and that water is pretty high. Definitely a little bit difficult to cross, some of the areas in the Barnes hole and, some of that area where, wade fishing proliferates itself around to all of the different areas in there. But look for that fishing to just gain consistency as water levels stabilize and drop. Our lakes, Jenny Lake, Jackson Lake, they've been fishing pretty darn good lately. Henry's Lake has been pretty good now that the crowds have sort of dissipated a little bit. So intermediate lines, type 3 lines with crononomids, calabatus, small leeches and things like that have been really productive, but those water temps are still pretty cold too. So, don't expect, the Henry's Fork Foundation is saying that our hatches are, anywhere from 4 to 5, to 10 to 12 days behind. So our in-stream flows are cold. We're starting to see a lot of snow melt, and we're just sort of lagging behind a little bit of normal or normal for the past 3 or 4 years of what we've normally seen. So once again, some great fishing opportunities. It's glad to be back. I can't wait for the summer ahead of us and all the fishing opportunities that we've got. The Fly Shop is open Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Stop in, get your fishing licenses, get stocked up on big bugs if you're heading to the Henry's Fork or heading over to the South Fork and things like that. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend on the water, and we'll see you here next.